Hi everyone, I'm Mark Janes, and we are pleased again this year here on BGTV to have a monthly visit with the mayor of the great city of Beech Grove, Dennis Buckley, and this is our first chance to visit here in the 2014-2015 school year. First of all, sir, welcome.
Oh, it's good to be here, Mark.
So many things to talk about. We'll probably take the next 20 minutes to 30 minutes to get it all hammered out, but I guess an overview since we visited in the spring. Been a pretty busy summer here in Beech Grove.
We have been quite busy legislatively and construction-wise. There's a lot going on in our city, and it's all good stuff. So
I think the thing that jumps out, you don't have to go too far around campus here, a cooperative effort between the city of Beech Grove and the school corporation, which we talked about last spring. Now we're finally starting to see some movements. You folks who may come in off of Churchman will see the survey stakes as you come up the back of our campus. Talk a little bit about that badly needed, much anticipated project involving the city and the school corporation.
Well, it's titled Safe Routes to School, and it's designed for kids who walk to school. The city applied for some funding through the MPO, which is the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and we received approximately $330,000, and then we have to match 20% of that, so the total project is about $400,000. We've partnered with the city school system to make it safer for kids to come to school, and the three schools that's affected by it is the high school, the middle school, and South Grove. We're going to be installing sidewalks where there's not sidewalks. And I think for everybody who travels behind the high school knows that the kids that cross the street from the apartments every day, that's risky business. And we got to get those kids off of the road. So they've surveyed it. NDOT has told me that the project should start on September the 15th, whenever that is. I think that's a Monday. And I don't know if it will get done in this construction season or not, but I would suspect that there would be substantial completion by the end of this year. So we're really looking forward to it.
And it's not a matter of just simply laying forms and pouring concrete, because there's a waterway there that has to be dealt with. I mean, that's a pretty extensive engineering project.
That, and we have to take out guardrails. And if you're familiar with South Grove on 9th Street there, on the west side of the street, there's not any sidewalks. And you can see where kids have made a path to get to school. So all that changes. So I'm looking forward to it.
Of course, last year saw the completion of the rather extensive project involving Main Street, but that doesn't mean that once that project essentially was wrapped up, that the city decided to sit back and put its proverbial feet up on its desk. From a construction standpoint, the development standpoint, matter of fact, just the opposite is true. We've kind of hit the accelerator, if you will, a little bit.
Yes, there's a major project going on right now. We're paving up in the area of 18th and Main Street and 18th and Cleveland, the park entrance off of Sherman Drive. And then I think within the next week or so, we're going to start on Royal Road. Those of you who are familiar with Royal Road, that road we're going to take completely out and fix the drainage issues on that road and then put it back. But there's a second project that's getting ready to start as well. We're going to award a bid for the reconstruction of Cleveland Street, and that's between Churchman Avenue and 13th. So that'll take place sometime in October, and it'll conclude by probably the end of November. So those are two big projects that we're undertaking now, and I think for those of you who travel on Royal Road and Cleveland, you'll know that, you know what, this should have been done a long time ago. But we're getting to it, and we're getting it done. And while all of that is going on, we have another project that is getting ready to start in November. It's called Sign Inventory and Replacement Program. And we were awarded approximately $700,000 from NDOT, or excuse me, from the MPO, to take an inventory of every sign that we have in the city and then replace it if it doesn't meet a certain reflectivity. So that's going to start in probably late November. And what's significant about it is that will go a long way to clean the city up, because we'll have new posts, new signs, and we'll get rid of some signs that aren't needed, and then the signs that just look awful. So
yeah, there's a uniformity at work there, not only with your street signs, but also the speed limit signs and things of that nature. So
I'm really happy with that. There is so much going on, but it's good.
Now we're a while past the Main Street project. What's been the response from not only people in the city, but more importantly those business owners that had to endure a little bit of inconvenience, or a lot of inconvenience, quite frankly, and able to see that project through? Do they all see that now that not only did it need to be done, but it was worth it?
Yes. That's probably the most important thing that I've done since I've been mayor, was to do that. It should have been done back in '07, but for whatever reason, it wasn't. But I was committed to doing it because the city needed it. I went ahead and apologized to people who live up there and people who did business on Main Street, because it created such a hardship for those people for about 3 months. It's pretty bad when you can't get to your business. But as time went on, in phases of the project, the people would get mad, then they would get happy. And now I am so glad that we did it. If we had to do it tomorrow again, I would do it again, because I think it's just absolutely beautiful down there. And I'm affected by it because I live 2 blocks from Main Street, so I get to see it all the time. And I really like the way it looks.
Well, clearly we discussed this last spring. It's a conduit to economic development throughout the city, because in order for businesses to get to City Hall, the route that they had to take was down Main Street. And now a new business coming to your office to inquire about the city sees a totally revamped Main Street, and I think it shows a clear commitment to economic development, and also to the businesses that are existing. So let's use that as a tie-in now in our next conversation. Economic development, it continues to grow by leaps and bounds. We noticed the Waffle House going in on Emerson, and now there's some activity over behind the police station.
Well, we have been, and I talked to somebody about it earlier today. When I the day I walked in the mayor's office, we had absolutely nothing. I mean, there wasn't anything going on. There wasn't anything in the works. And then 2.5 years later, you have Waffle House. You have Kinetrix Energy out here, who is investing $20 million in the city. And then ADM Milling, who we just did a ribbon cutting on, who opened a new mill, which was an additional $30 million to the city of Beech Grove. And I don't want to talk about it now, but we'll have some news on St. Francis here pretty soon that I think will dwarf all of those.
Yeah.
But you talked about the rock pile behind the police department. Well, the city bought that property in 2008. The Redevelopment Commission did. And it's 7 acres that is sitting there. 1 acre is contaminated. So the city has over $300,000 invested in that property, and there wasn't anybody going to buy it. So this company came into town looking at the hospital property, and they realized that they didn't, the hospital was too much for them, but they liked Beech Grove. So I took them out to look at this property. And they were interested in it, and I said, I'll tell you what, I said, if you agreed to clean it up, build a senior community on it, and then do phase 2 away from here. We will give you that property as a concession to get you to come in, provided that you're awarded tax credits through the state. Well, all of that happened. So now, if you drive by a church and you see these big mounds of dirt, they're cleaning it up. Well, actually, the Redevelopment Commission is cleaning it up. And then I think groundbreaking is going to be sometime early November. But 18 months from that, then there'll be 60 new apartments there for seniors with attached garages. And that's will have a value of about $9 million to the city. So, you know, some folks thought that that was really, I had lost my mind because I was willing to do that, but the city, the RDC will get their money back within 4 or 5 years.
But Mayor, the folks that would make that observation are the kind of people that need to go to Economic Development Commission meetings and Redevelopment Commission meetings and City Council meetings, because they simply don't understand how very, very competitive economic development is, and the amount of tax incentives and breaks that can be offered to companies, and the fact that there's a long line of cities and towns that would love to have a project come to their city, like the one that you offered up that's bringing $9 million to Beech Grove.
Well, the thing that I like, when I became mayor, my background was public safety. I really didn't know much about economic development or how to drive to get people to come here, so I had to learn it on my own. There's not any course that you take.
Right.
I mean, you're just out there like a fish in the water. But anyway, I kind of liked it because you're selling the city, and
Sure.
And for a long time, there wasn't anybody selling the city. I mean, it was just there. So you started having these people respond to you, and they liked what they saw. And now they're investing millions of dollars in the city. I don't suspect it will end soon. I think it'll just keep going. And people tell me, you know, they said, you know, the city's really doing well. I said, the city's doing better. I said, but 5 to 10 years from now, the city's really going to be doing good, because all of this comes to fruition. And all of these incentives that are given for people to come here are done. Now they're going to have to pony up, pay taxes like everybody else, and the city, the school, and the library will be much better now than it is. I think it's good now, but 5 years from now, this school district will really be good because they will have new revenue to deal with. Interesting
to note, a positive piece of economic development that ties in very, very well with Main Street. And I know those of you that come to and fro in the morning and in the evening get aggravated and frustrated by with all the work being done at 465 and 65. But the access that, you know, the cleaner, faster access that not only residents but businesses will now have to 70, to 65, to 465. This city stands to benefit from the completion of that project.
Yes, yes. So I'm looking forward to it. Whether I'm sitting in the mayor's office or not, that's another story. But as a citizen, it's good. It's going to be good here.
Now, we're taping this show September the 10th, and so the budget process is always ongoing. You probably, almost like a coach, you never get away from that. You're always mindful of it. But let's, if we can get out the crystal ball momentarily, where, in your opinion, does the city stand from a budgetary standpoint now, and where do we see this budget process going toward the fall, moving toward 2015?
Well, the first year that we were in office, we had to work off of the budget that was given to us. And that budget was about $250,000 underfunded. So we were in trouble. But we worked through it, department heads worked through it, and we didn't want to lose anybody. We didn't want to have to reduce services or lay people off. We weren't going to let that happen. But we worked through it, and The next budget got better. We couldn't give raises to full-time employees. So this is now the third budget cycle that we're in since we've been in office. And I'm really happy with it for a number of reasons. The main reason is because the services that we provide, the police, fire, public works, trash pickup, all of those services are going to increase. And we are finally able to give full-time employees a cost of living adjustment. These men and women have went at least 6 years without any type of adjustment. The cost of living has went up
Certainly
over the past 6 years. So you know what, that's good stuff. And I think next year we'll even, when we start working on 2016 budget, I think it'll even be better for them because we're in a position financially that we can invest in the employees. And that's what we should have been doing all along. Another thing that is really good, we preached early on that we can't be addicted to property taxes. We got to get away from it because you never know what the legislature is going to do, and they could handcuff you, and then we're back to where we were a couple of years ago. So we have to get away from that and be more dependent on fee-based services. And that's what we've done over the last 2.5 years. Now we are in a position to approve a budget that increases by $816,000, but yet the property taxes are reduced by 9 cents per $1,000. So if the budget is approved by the council and approved by the Department of Local Government Finance, the tax rate in Beech Grove for 2015 will go from $1.59 a thousand down to $1.50 a thousand, a $9 increase. Where 3 years ago we were $250,000 underfunded in the budget. So that's good stuff, but it's only going to get better because we're doing more things away from taxes. So, and then you have all these businesses that are investing in Beech Grove. The assessed value of the city goes up, which also drives the property taxes down, and then it lessens our dependence on the circuit breaker tax that's been implemented by the legislature. The real winner is the school district because their circuit breaker values will go down, which bodes better for their budget.
Now,
so,
explain to folks who may not know exactly what a circuit breaker value is.
It's hard to explain. You're only going to be taxed on so much projection.
Okay.
And I don't know how they calculate it. That's over my head. But we have to base it off the projection from the DLGF on what we're going to lose as a result of this calculation.
Okay.
People with financial backgrounds are much better than that than I am. I just know the dollars and cents of it. And the higher that we can raise our AV and the more business that comes into Beech Grove, the better it is for this district, the school district, the library, and the civil city. So we're going in the right direction. It just takes a little while.
Let's talk a little bit about those user-based fees and services. That ties into the announcement recently of the $1.50 fee for stormwater. Explain that a little bit.
Well, back in 2000, up until 2006, everybody who owned property in Beech Grove was paying that fee, but they were paying it to the city of Indianapolis. And the city of Indianapolis was collecting thousands upon thousands of dollars from the citizens of Beech Grove for stormwater fees, and they were investing it to make Indianapolis better. It wasn't coming back out to Beech Grove to correct stormwater issues.
Okay.
So the mayor stopped it, and I would have stopped it too if I was mayor. But they didn't take it the next step. They didn't set up a fee-based to collect stormwater fees, they would have collected the same amount of money that they would have in 2006 when they stopped. So that's what we did. We established the program, we established the fees, and it's $1.50 for each homeowner per month until the first day of 2016. Then it goes up to $2.25 or something like that. It staggers over 4 years. Well, it wasn't done to build up some type of war chest, you know, to blow on everything. It was done to fix drainage problems. We have about $4 million worth of drainage issues that we have identified that have been around for a long time.
Yeah, let me interject. The correction of the Main Street problem did not solve all of the drainage problems in this city.
No, it solved the Main Street problem. But we have neighborhoods that are flooding when it rains, and the water can't drain off and get to a tributary. So we have to fix those things. And so it's on your sewer bill each month, you'll see the stormwater fee of $1.50 if you're a homeowner. Well, I haven't had a whole lot of resistance to that. Some people have asked me what that's all about, and I explained to them, and then they seem okay with it. Some people don't like it, but you know what? I don't mind making that decision, because if you collect that money and you put it right back into fixing drainage problems, then your city's going to be better for it. And we'll probably do a dozen projects next year where we'll correct drainage problems throughout the city of Beach Grove. And that's what this is all about.
Let's talk about paving, sidewalk projects, things of that nature. How long will our construction window last? Until maybe, what, early November? I know that in terms of either patching or repaving, those plants shut down with a different type of mix for asphalt and stuff, and things of that nature in the wintertime. But what is our construction window? What's left in terms of how much time we have here in the city?
We'll probably quit about the end of November, around Thanksgiving, and then we'll pick it back up early spring.
I would say that along those lines, if we have another winter like we had last winter, why don't you and I, maybe you find a place in Florida to be mayor, I'll come and be your media rep. But the city street department has been stockpiling sand and salt to the best of their ability since we had the thaw from that miserable winter we had last year.
Well, we were only one of a few cities that didn't run out of salt.
Right.
And that was done, that was pretty good planning on the Public Works Director's part. We won't buy any salt until probably end of November. That's generally when the supplies come in. But we'll use about 120,000 tons of salt, and if you do the math, it's about $90 a ton, so it's pretty significant.
Now, we've covered a ton of positives, and I want to bring up one potential hot button issue. This is, I think, an incredibly safe city in which to live. We had an issue at the park, I believe it was a little over a month ago. Things got out of hand. You made the decision to pull down the basketball goals because that kind of is where that problem was centered. So give folks, you know, if you will, the mindset behind that, making that call, and where we stand now with the situation at the city park here in Beach Grove.
Well, we took the goals down because just really I just wasn't going to put up with it. You know, if you get a guy that's mad because he lost a basketball game or didn't get his way, and goes out in his car and gets in his glove box and pulls out a gun and starts shooting, we don't need that down there. So I'll remedy the problem immediately. I'll take the goals down. And, you know, I had some people that didn't like it, but, well, you know what? It is what it is. Society is, I get asked this all the time, and I talk about it to groups of people. It's not like it used to be. The respect for life just went out the window. The respect for law enforcement, people don't respect police officers like they used to. And it's risky business. And if we don't do something to help protect the police officer, the firemen, or who's ever out there working on our behalf, then shame on us. You know, Mayor Ballard had this push for this public safety tax increase to hire police officers. I publicly have supported it, and I supported it today, and I've been a strong advocate of early childhood development. I just can't get groups of people in Beech Grove to buy into it because that's part of the equation as well. You have to get, in my opinion, you have to get these kids at a young age and teach them the values. Evidently, they're not going to learn it at home, so somebody's got to talk to them about it. But anyway, so now, next year, the public safety tax, income tax, is going to increase so that the city of Indianapolis can hire more police officers. That's good, but there's a ripple effect to that, and that happens in Beech Grove, Lawrence, Speedway. Mm-hmm. So now we are going to set ourselves up to be able to make improvements in public safety. We didn't put the money from the increase in the public safety tax into next year's budget for two reasons. The first reason, we didn't know if the council would agree to it, or the city county council. And number two, we didn't know the calculation on how much it would be. Well, now we know that they approved it, so now we're going, beginning of the first of the year, we're going to start collecting money for the increase in this public safety tax. So now what's going to happen by the 1st of 2016, I would suspect that we'll hire more police officers and maybe a couple firemen, but that gives us an opportunity to do some more work.
Well, there's no question that the program that the city and the school corporation have worked together on. I know Mark Parker, who's also our girls varsity basketball coach. He's not just here from a safety standpoint. Mark Parker's in this building, and other officers in other buildings, as an opportunity to serve as sort of an outreach and a conduit, if you will, from the police department to the community. And I think a lot of students here at Beech Grove High School have benefited from the opportunity to develop a relationship with Mark Parker, not only as a basketball coach, but as someone who's in our building on a regular basis.
I agree with that. We started that, I think, in sometime in 2012 or early 2013. I'm not really sure, but the superintendent and myself, we've talked about it, and he has been pretty adamant about it. And I happen to agree that it wouldn't hurt the school district to have a second officer that would be in another school, so we can work towards that, and I'm not opposed to that at all, because we have to do as much as we can to protect these kids. Sure. And to protect these buildings, and I think our police chief is onto it, but also maybe we can look into another officer that deals exclusively with juveniles away from the school district. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was a second officer in the school district within the next year or so.
Well, I'm not saying that, you know, a lot of well-intentioned school districts haven't been bitten by tragedy. Sometimes when a mindset is such to where people are intent upon doing harm, there's very little, if anything, one can do to prevent that from happening. But I know that in my 3 years in this building, I feel comfortable in saying that folks in Beech Grove, your children are as safe in this building as they are anywhere they could possibly be outside of your home. So, and a lot of the credit for that goes to, I think, not only Carmen Hurley, our vice principal, but Steve Cox, our principal, and also certainly Mark Parker. Now, speaking of the school corporation, can we expect a collaborative effort between the city of Beech Grove and the Beech Grove City Schools and the effort to get this referendum that we have in the not too distant future passed?
Well, I supported the first one that you did. I don't know if that was 4 or 5 years ago, I don't remember. And I've already told Dr. Kaiser that I would come out publicly and support the second one. I don't know when that is. I don't know if it's next year or 2016. And
Yeah, it is next year.
Here's why. If you want good schools, and if you want your child to, especially if your child comes here, I don't have any children that come to Beech Grove School anymore. I'm too old. But if you want good schools, you have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not willing to do that, then it's not going to happen. So, you know, I prefer to live in a city where the schools are good. I think the schools are good here, and if it costs me another $100 a year or 200, I don't know what it is, I'm willing to pay that. So,
well, we'll have Dr. Kaiser on here in the not too distant future, and we'll be able to break that down. And sometimes I think whenever referendums are presented by school corporations, if they're not presented in the right vein, it causes panic, because no one likes tax increase. Doesn't matter how big or how small. Mm-hmm. No one likes the word tax increase in any way, shape, or form. But I think sometimes school corporations, mayor, and even cities in the quest to raise more finances through taxing, they don't break it down enough to let folks know how they're going to be affected individually. Mm-hmm. They throw this pot of money out there that seems like an exorbitant amount of cash. And I can say that a lot of this, from what I understand, is, you know, and I hope I'm not misspeaking here, some of it tied to transportation, some of it tied to HVAC. So it's not as though this school corporation is looking for a pot of gold to be able to turn this into an ivory palace or an ivory tower like you've seen some school corporations build throughout central Indiana and the state of Indiana. I think they just want to improve the infrastructure here and improve upon the things that we've already done, which sounds to me like it falls in line with the same approach that you've taken with city government in your term as mayor.
Well, our infrastructure has been neglected for so long that it's taken quite a while to get back up, but it's coming around. I had to raise sewer rates. That's one of the first things I did when I was elected mayor. And that was hard to do, but I didn't mind doing it because I hit it head on. Mm-hmm. For two reasons. Number one, we were going broke, and number two, the system was failing, and we didn't have any money to fix it. So we got that squared away, and now your bill will increase gradually over 4 years. And when that got done, as soon as that got done, I went right into stormwater. It wasn't as hard as the sewer, but it was enough. I'm asking people for more money, and yeah, it's hard, but I hit it straight on because the city needed to do it because we have drainage issues. Now, the next tax for me is recycling. We're going through this Clean Community Challenge, and I think we'll introduce recycling as soon as the budget cycle's over. So that's coming for the citizens of Beech Grove, but I don't think that's going to be cause for any type of rates or anything like that.
Before we let you go, it's fall festival time here in the great city of Beech Grove. How excited are you to have a fall festival with that Main Street project being all polished up and wrapped up?
I'm excited, but I reminded them again that you don't drive anything into the cement or the asphalt. And you don't paint.
That's a no-no.
That's a no-no, and you don't paint on the pavement. But it's always good to bring stuff into the city. Now, I think tonight we're in trouble because of the weather. And when I came in, it was starting to rain, so yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. But hopefully it's a safe festival, and the parade's on Saturday, so that's always good.
Well, first of all, congratulations on all your successes, especially since we visited last year, and we appreciate your accessibility and your willingness to be here and work with us. And we want to continue to improve our relationship, and we also want to continue using this as a vehicle to get the word out to the citizens of Beech Grove.
Oh, this is a good way to do it, and I really appreciate being here today.
That's our mayor of the city of Beech Grove, Dennis Buckley. I'm Mark Janes. Thanks to Wiley Kraft for his production assistance on the show today. Thank you, and we'll see you in about a month with Mayor Buckley.